Marcus Rivera sat in his downtown Chicago office, the glow of multiple monitors reflecting off his glasses as lines of code scrolled past. At 34, he had built himself into one of the most respected senior software architects at TechCore Solutions, a fintech company that processed billions in transactions daily. His phone buzzed. A text from his wife, Vanessa. "We need to talk tonight. This can't wait anymore." His stomach dropped, not because he didn't know what was coming, but because he knew exactly what was coming. For 6 months, Marcus had been documenting everything. Every dismissive comment, every cold shoulder, every time she prioritized her image consulting business over their marriage while demanding he sacrifice his career for hers. The difference was that Vanessa thought she held all the cards. She had no idea that 3 weeks ago, Marcus had accepted a position as Chief Technology Officer at a startup in Austin, Texas. The contract sat in his apartment safe, unsigned but ready. He had already chosen. Marcus looked at the text again, his thumb hovering over the screen. Instead of the anxiety that would have consumed him a year ago, he felt something else entirely. Clarity. He typed back, "I'll be home by 7. Before we continue with Marcus's story, hit that subscribe button. Like the video if you're excited for what's coming next, and leave a comment letting me know where you're watching from. Is it Chicago, New York, or Los Angeles? Now, let's get back to Marcus and discover how a woman who thought she was forcing an ultimatum was actually walking straight into the consequence of her own actions. Marcus had met Vanessa Chen 4 years earlier at a tech industry mixer in River North. She had been consulting for one of the startups presenting that night, helping them refine their brand identity and public messaging. When she approached him after his panel discussion on cybersecurity architecture, her confidence had been magnetic. She spoke about building empires, about legacy, about refusing to accept limitations. At 32, she had already built Chen Consulting from a one-woman operation into a boutique firm with 3 employees and clients across the Midwest. Their courtship had been intense. Dinners at Alinea and Girl and the Goat. Weekend trips to Michigan's wine country. Long conversations about their ambitions that stretched past midnight. Marcus, who had spent his 20s buried in code and climbing the corporate ladder, found himself swept up in Vanessa's vision of their future together. 2 powerful professionals, building an empire side by side. They married 18 months later in a ceremony at the Chicago Botanic Garden. Vanessa had managed every detail, from the custom invitations to the seating chart that strategically placed her most influential clients where they'd be impressed. Marcus hadn't minded. He was happy to let her orchestrate their big day while he focused on a major product launch at TechCore. That should have been his first warning sign. Not that she was detail-oriented, but that even their wedding had been another opportunity for her to network and build her brand. The first year of marriage had been good. They bought a condo in Lincoln Park with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the park. Vanessa's business continued growing. Marcus got promoted to senior architect with a salary bump that pushed them comfortably into the upper middle class. They hosted dinner parties where Vanessa's clients mixed with Marcus's colleagues, everyone impressed by this power couple who seemed to have it all figured out. But somewhere in year 2, things began to shift. It started small. Marcus would mention a company retreat in Colorado, and Vanessa would sigh. "That's the same weekend as the brand summit I'm speaking at. I was hoping you'd come support me." When Marcus explained that attendance wasn't optional, that these retreats were where strategy was set and alliances formed, Vanessa's smile would tighten. "Of course, your job always comes first." The pattern repeated. A client dinner she wanted him to attend conflicted with his on-call rotation. A vacation she planned without checking his schedule first fell during their busiest quarter. Each time, when Marcus couldn't simply drop his responsibilities, Vanessa's disappointment evolved from understanding to resentment. "You know what your problem is," she said one evening as they sat in their living room, the autumn light fading over Lincoln Park. "You don't think strategically about your career. You just do what they tell you." Marcus looked up from his laptop. He had been reviewing architecture documents for a new payment processing system that would launch in 3 months. "I'm literally designing the infrastructure that will handle $2 billion in annual transactions." "Exactly. You're designing it. But who gets the credit when it works? Your VP, your CTO, you're brilliant, Marcus, but you're content to be brilliant in the shadows." She set down her wine glass with deliberate precision. "I'm building something that has my name on it. Every success is mine. Every client knows they're getting Vanessa Chen, not some corporate drone." The words stung more than Marcus wanted to admit. "I'm not a drone. I'm part of a team that could replace you tomorrow." Vanessa's voice was soft, almost gentle, which somehow made it worse. "I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to wake you up. You're 33 years old. If you want to build real wealth, real influence, you need to take risks. Start your own consulting firm. Build your own products. Stop making other people rich." Marcus had closed his laptop. "I like what I do. I'm good at it. And yes, it's part of a larger team. But that doesn't make it less valuable. But it makes it invisible." Vanessa stood, smoothing her designer dress. "I have a client call in 10 minutes. Think about what I said." She disappeared into their home office, leaving Marcus alone with his thoughts and the persistent feeling that he had somehow failed a test he hadn't known he was taking. Over the following months, the comments became more frequent. When Marcus came home energized about solving a particularly complex scalability problem, Vanessa would listen for exactly 30 seconds before finding a reason to check her phone. When he was passed over for a VP position in favor of an external hire, Vanessa's "I told you so" was unspoken but deafening. Meanwhile, her business was flourishing. She landed a contract with a national retail chain to overhaul their brand identity. The fee alone was 6 figures. She hired 2 more consultants and moved her office from their spare bedroom to a sleek space in the West Loop. Her Instagram following grew. She was invited to speak at conferences. Business magazines profiled her as one of Chicago's rising entrepreneurs. Marcus was proud of her success. He told her so regularly, attended her speaking engagements when his schedule allowed, and celebrated each new milestone. But his pride didn't seem to register with Vanessa anymore. Instead, each of her victories appeared to highlight what she perceived as his stagnation. The intimacy began to fade around the same time. Vanessa started going to bed after him, claiming she needed to finish client work. When they were in bed together, she was distant, her responses mechanical when Marcus reached for her. The passionate connection that had defined their early relationship cooled to something transactional and infrequent. "I'm just stressed," she said when Marcus finally asked about it directly. "Building a business is exhausting. You wouldn't understand because you have the luxury of clocking out at 5. Marcus, who regularly worked until 8 or 9 and took calls at midnight when systems went down, said nothing. What was the point? She had already decided what his experience was, regardless of reality. Then came the Sunday morning that changed everything. Marcus woke up to find Vanessa already dressed in athleisure wear, her yoga mat under her arm. "I'm meeting Jennifer for yoga and brunch," she said. "Don't wait up." Jennifer Holloway was one of Vanessa's oldest friends, another entrepreneur who ran a successful PR firm. Marcus liked Jennifer well enough, though her conversations tended to revolve entirely around business strategy and which ventures were worth pursuing versus which were poverty mindset thinking. "What time will you be back?" Marcus asked, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Not sure. We might do some shopping after. Jennifer wants to hit the boutiques in Bucktown." Vanessa was checking her reflection in the full-length mirror, adjusting her designer leggings. "There's leftover Thai in the fridge if you get hungry." She left without kissing him goodbye. Marcus spent the day cleaning the condo, going for a run along the lakefront, and catching up on reading technical documentation. He told himself this was normal. Couples needed space. Independent interests were healthy. But the hollow feeling in his chest suggested otherwise. Vanessa returned at 7 that evening, carrying shopping bags from stores Marcus recognized as expensive. "You wouldn't believe the day I had," she said, her voice animated in a way it never was when talking to him anymore. "Jennifer introduced me to this woman who runs a venture capital firm. She's interested in potentially investing in Chen Consulting, helping me scale nationally. This could be huge, Marcus. This could change everything." "That's great," Marcus said, and he meant it. "Tell me more about her vision for scaling." But Vanessa was already heading to their office. "I need to send some follow-up emails while everything is fresh. We'll talk about it later." Later never came. She worked until past 11, then went straight to bed. The pattern was set. Vanessa's world was expanding while Marcus's role in it was shrinking. He was becoming a supporting character in her narrative, valuable only insofar as his steady income provided stability while she took entrepreneurial risks. He might have accepted this as the natural evolution of their relationship if not for what he discovered 3 months later. Marcus had come home early from work, a rare occurrence, after a morning full of meetings concluded sooner than expected. He entered their condo quietly, planning to surprise Vanessa with lunch from her favorite deli. Her office door was closed and he could hear her voice on a phone call. "Exactly what I mean," Vanessa was saying, her tone animated. "He's content to be a cog in the machine. He doesn't have the vision or the courage to build something real." Marcus froze in the hallway, the deli bag growing heavy in his hand. I know, Vanessa continued, "but here's the thing, Jennifer. I can't keep carrying both of us forward. At some point, you're either building an empire together or one person is just dead weight." Dead weight. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. The worst part is he doesn't even see it. He thinks because he makes good money and solves complicated problems that he's successful. But success isn't about doing what you're told. It's about ownership, control, legacy. A pause. "No, I haven't told him directly. What's the point? He'd just get defensive and make it about his feelings instead of facing reality." Marcus set the deli bag down silently on the kitchen counter and left the condo as quietly as he'd entered. He walked for 2 hours through Lincoln Park, his mind racing. When he finally returned, Vanessa was in the living room working on her laptop. "Hey," she said without looking up. "How was work?" "Fine," Marcus replied. "Long day." Her attention remained on her screen. That night, Marcus lay awake long after Vanessa fell asleep beside him. Dead weight. The phrase circled his mind like a predator. He thought about his career, his accomplishments, the systems he'd built that processed millions of transactions daily. He thought about the team that respected his expertise, the junior developers he mentored, the complex problems he solved that kept the company running. Was he dead weight because he found fulfillment in collaborative excellence rather than individual empire building? Was he failing because he valued stability and craftsmanship over risk and self-promotion? Or was he simply married to someone who valued him only as a reflection of her own ambitions? The question kept him awake until dawn. Marcus became a different kind of observer after that day. Not paranoid, not angry, but clinical. He approached his marriage the way he approached debugging complex systems, methodically identifying the patterns that revealed the underlying structure. He started noticing things he'd previously dismissed as quirks or bad days. Vanessa checked her phone during every conversation they had, but her responses to client messages were instant, while his texts could go hours without reply. She scheduled client dinners 3 times a week, but claimed to be too exhausted for date nights. She posted carefully curated photos on Instagram suggesting a glamorous life, sometimes including Marcus in ways that positioned him as an accessory to her success rather than a partner. "Grateful for the support system that lets me chase my dreams," read one caption beneath a photo of them at a rooftop restaurant, Vanessa in the foreground with Marcus blurred slightly in the background. The comments were all about her dress, her entrepreneurial spirit, her inspiring journey. Marcus began keeping a record, not for any specific purpose at first, but because his analytical mind needed to understand the data. He created a private encrypted file on his laptop where he noted conversations, events, patterns. The dates she canceled plans. The times she dismissed his work as insignificant. The growing list of ways she indicated he was failing to meet her expectations. February 14th. Valentine's Day. Marcus had made reservations at Schwa, one of the hardest restaurants to book in Chicago, 3 months in advance. He left work at 4 to pick up flowers and arrived home at 5:30 to get ready for their 7 o'clock reservation. Vanessa was on a video call in her office. She held up one finger when he knocked, signaling him to wait. The call stretched to 30 minutes, then 45. Marcus sat on the couch, watching the clock, knowing they'd need to leave by 6:30 to make their reservation. At 6:20, Vanessa emerged. That was the VP of marketing for that retail chain. She wants to extend our contract into a full brand ecosystem redesign. We're talking about a potential 7-figure deal. "That's incredible," Marcus said, standing. "We should celebrate. Our reservation is in 40 minutes. Vanessa's face fell. "Oh, Marcus, I completely forgot. Can we reschedule? I need to put together a proposal tonight while everything is fresh in my mind. This opportunity is huge." "I made this reservation 3 months ago. It's Valentine's Day. And this is a 7-figure deal." Vanessa's tone sharpened. "I'm sorry, but some opportunities don't wait for convenient timing. If you can't understand that priorities sometimes shift, I don't know what to tell you." Marcus looked at her. Really looked at her. The woman he'd married would have been apologetic, would have suggested a compromise. This version of Vanessa was annoyed that he was annoyed, as if his disappointment was an inconvenience she shouldn't have to manage. "Fine," he said quietly. "I'll cancel the reservation." "Thank you." She was already turning back toward her office. "Maybe we can do something next weekend." They didn't do anything next weekend. Vanessa had a conference in Minneapolis. Marcus ate leftover pasta alone at their kitchen counter, then opened his laptop and added the date to his file. Beneath it, he wrote a single sentence. "Valentine's Day reservation canceled. 7-figure deal more important than 4-year relationship." 2 weeks later, Marcus was offered a position he hadn't applied for. Sean Torres, a former colleague who had left TechCore 2 years earlier to join an Austin startup called Finance Flow, called him on a Tuesday afternoon. "Marcus, I need your brain. We're building something revolutionary. A blockchain-based payment platform that could transform how remittances work globally. We're at that critical phase where we need someone who can architect something that scales to millions of users without collapsing. Your name keeps coming up." They talked for an hour. The technology was cutting edge, the kind of challenge Marcus had been craving. The position was CTO, reporting directly to the CEO, with equity that could be worth millions if the company succeeded. Think about it, Sean said. I know you've got a good thing in Chicago, but this is a chance to build something from the ground up. Your name on the architecture, your decisions shaping the product, real ownership. Ownership. The word Vanessa had thrown at him repeatedly. Marcus told Sean he'd consider it. Then he spent 3 days researching finance flow, reading their technical documentation, studying their funding rounds and leadership team. The more he learned, the more intrigued he became. This wasn't just a job change. It was exactly the kind of opportunity Vanessa claimed he was too timid to pursue. But it was in Austin, Texas, 1,400 miles from Chicago. On Friday evening, Marcus decided to test the waters. He waited until Vanessa was between calls, until she seemed relaxed, a glass of wine in hand as they prepared dinner together. I got an interesting call this week, he said, chopping vegetables. You remember Sean Torres? VP at that startup you used to work with? Vanessa asked absently, stirring pasta sauce. He left to join a fintech startup in Austin. They're doing really innovative work with blockchain and remittances. He wants me to come on board as CTO. Vanessa's stirring hand stopped. She turned to look at him. CTO? That's actually impressive. It's a startup, so there's risk. But the equity package is solid and the technology is genuinely revolutionary. It's the kind of thing that could scale globally if we execute well. In Austin. Yes, in Austin. Vanessa turned back to the sauce. So you'd commute? Marcus kept his voice neutral. It's 1,400 miles. Commuting wouldn't really be feasible. We'd have to relocate. The silence stretched for 10 seconds. 20. 30. Finally, Vanessa set down her spoon with careful precision. Marcus, I've built my entire business here. My clients are here. My network is here. Chen Consulting is Chicago-based. I can't just pick up and move to Texas because you got a job offer. I'm not saying we have to. I'm saying it's an opportunity worth discussing. What's there to discuss? Vanessa's voice was rising now. I'm finally at a point where my business is taking off. Jennifer and I are talking about potentially partnering on some ventures. I have 3 major contracts in negotiation. This is my moment, Marcus. And you want me to throw it all away to follow you to Austin? I haven't said I'm taking the job. I'm just mentioning that you're considering prioritizing your career over mine for once. Vanessa's eyes flashed. Because that's what this is. You're finally getting recognition, and suddenly your job matters more than everything I've built. Marcus set down his knife. That's not fair. I've supported your business from day one. Supported it? You tolerated it. There's a difference. You were fine with my business as long as it didn't inconvenience you. As long as I was the one sacrificing and adjusting and making my schedule work around yours. But the moment you're asked to do the same, suddenly it's this huge crisis. Vanessa, I've missed countless dinners, events, and weekends because of your business. I've never complained. I've celebrated every success. But this is a CTO position at a company with serious funding and revolutionary technology. It's exactly the kind of thing you've been telling me I should pursue. Ownership, vision, legacy. In Chicago. I told you to pursue opportunities here, not to drag me to some tech bro wasteland in Texas. She turned away, arms crossed. This conversation is over. If you want to take that job, you'll be taking it alone. The ultimatum hung in the air between them. Marcus felt something inside him crystallize. This wasn't about Austin or Chicago. It was about the fundamental imbalance in their marriage. Vanessa's dreams were mandatory. His were negotiable. Her ambitions were worthy. His were selfish. "Noted," he said quietly. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I hear you. Your business is here and moving isn't an option for you." Vanessa's shoulders relaxed slightly. "I'm glad you understand. You can find opportunities here. You don't need to uproot our entire life for one job offer." Marcus returned to chopping vegetables. "You're right." But in his mind, he was already planning. That night, after Vanessa fell asleep, Marcus opened his encrypted file and added a new entry. Austin position offered. CTO role with equity and ownership. Vanessa's response: "Her career is non-negotiable. Mine is optional. Unwilling to even discuss the possibility. If you take that job, you'll be taking it alone. Clear statement of priorities." Over the next 3 weeks, Marcus had 4 more conversations with Sean and the finance flow team. They flew him to Austin for an in-person interview. He told Vanessa he was going to a tech conference. She didn't ask for details. Austin surprised him. The energy reminded him of Chicago's tech scene, but with more space, more sun, lower cost of living. The finance flow offices were in a converted warehouse in East Austin, all exposed brick and collaborative workspaces. The team was brilliant, hungry, diverse. The technology stack was modern and elegant. The CEO, Amanda Choi, was a straight-talking former Google executive who had cashed out of her last startup and was determined to build something with real social impact. "Remittances are a $700 billion annual market," she explained, walking Marcus through their technical architecture. "But the fees are predatory, the speed is slow, and the technology is outdated. We can fix all 3. We just need someone who can build the infrastructure that doesn't break when we scale." Marcus reviewed their code base, met with the engineering team, and asked every hard question he could think of. By the end of the day, he knew this was exactly the kind of challenge he wanted. "We'd need you to start in 3 months," Amanda said as they wrapped up. "That gives you time to transition out of your current role and relocate. Does that timeline work?" Marcus thought about Vanessa, about their marriage, about the life they'd built in Chicago. Then he thought about being called dead weight, about Valentine's Day reservations canceled without apology, about 4 years of gradual diminishment. "Yes," he said. "That timeline works." The offer came through a week later. The salary was comparable to his current position, but the equity package was substantial. If Finance Flow succeeded even moderately, Marcus would be financially independent. If it succeeded dramatically, he'd be wealthy. He signed the offer letter in his car in the TechCore parking lot, photographed it, sent it back via encrypted email, then sat there for 10 minutes letting the reality sink in. He had just accepted a CTO position in Austin. He had just made the choice Vanessa had told him he couldn't make. Now came the harder part. He needed to be strategic about the timing. Vanessa's biggest contract negotiation was in 6 weeks. If he told her now, the drama would consume everything. She'd accuse him of sabotaging her success. She'd make herself the victim of his ambition. No, he'd wait. He'd let her finish her negotiation. He'd give her one more chance to see him as a partner rather than a support system. And if nothing changed, when nothing changed, he'd present her with the reality that had already been decided. In the meantime, Marcus continued his documentation. He noted every dismissive comment, every canceled plan, every time Vanessa prioritized her image over their relationship. He wasn't doing it to build a case against her. He was doing it so that later, when she inevitably tried to rewrite history, when she claimed he had ambushed her or given up on them without trying, he'd have the facts to anchor himself to reality. Because Marcus knew Vanessa well enough to predict exactly what would happen. She'd be shocked. She'd claim she never saw it coming. She'd paint herself as the devoted wife whose husband suddenly abandoned her for ambition. The file grew longer. The picture became clearer. And Marcus prepared for the conversation that would change everything. 6 weeks later, on a Thursday evening in late April, Marcus came home to find Vanessa celebrating. She'd landed the contract, a full-year engagement with the retail chain, worth $850,000. She'd popped a bottle of champagne and was on the phone with Jennifer, her voice bright with triumph. "I have to go," she said when she saw Marcus. "We'll celebrate properly this weekend." She ended the call and turned to him, her smile genuine for the first time in months. "Did you see my text? I got it. I actually got it." "I saw. Congratulations. That's an incredible achievement." "It really is." Vanessa poured him a glass of champagne, handed it to him. "This changes everything. With this contract, I can hire a senior consultant, maybe even open a second office. Jennifer thinks I should consider expanding to New York within the year." Marcus sipped his champagne. "New York is expensive to establish. But imagine the client base, the media exposure. This Chicago success could be just the beginning." She was pacing now, energized. "I've been thinking about our 5-year plan. If I play this right, Chen Consulting could be a national brand, maybe even international. We could be looking at 8-figure annual revenue." "We?" Vanessa paused. "Well, obviously I'd be running it, but your income provides stability while I scale. It's a team effort." There it was. The perspective Marcus had been living with for 2 years, stated plainly. He was the stable foundation. She was the rising star. His role was to enable her ascent, while his own ambitions remained conveniently flexible. "Vanessa," Marcus said, setting down his glass, "we need to talk." Something in his tone made her expression shift. "Is this about the Austin thing? Because I thought we resolved that." "You resolved it. I didn't." "Marcus, please don't do this tonight. I just had a major victory. Can't you let me enjoy it for one evening without making everything about you?" "Everything about me?" Marcus kept his voice level. "When was the last time we talked about my career as anything other than a support system for yours? That's not fair. I've always supported you." "Really? Tell me one thing I've accomplished in the last year." Vanessa opened her mouth, then closed it, her brow furrowed. You got that project completed. The payment processing thing. That was 18 months ago. And you told me at the time that it didn't matter because I was just making my executives look good. I didn't say that. Marcus pulled out his phone, opened his encrypted file, and read from it. February 12th. Me. The payment system launched successfully today. We processed $3 million in transactions with 0 downtime. You. That's nice. Too bad your VP gets the credit while you're still in the same position you were in 2 years ago. Vanessa's face paled. Have you been recording our conversations? I've been taking notes. Because I kept feeling like I was going crazy, like maybe I was imagining the way you dismissed everything I did. But I wasn't imagining it. It's been 2 years of you treating my career as less important than yours. That's not true. You canceled Valentine's Day for a work call. That was a 7-figure opportunity. It's always an opportunity. It's always your moment. It's always something that means I need to understand, to be flexible, to adjust. Marcus stood, his champagne forgotten. Do you know what you called me when you were talking to Jennifer? Dead weight. Vanessa went very still. You heard that? I came home early one day, 3 months ago. You were on the phone talking about how I don't have vision or courage, how I'm content to be a cog in the machine, how you can't keep carrying both of us forward. Marcus, I was venting. Jennifer and I were just, you meant every word. And you know how I know? Because you've said versions of the same thing to my face for 2 years. You've made it clear that my career is acceptable as long as it doesn't interfere with yours, as long as it provides stability while you take risks. I'm the safety net for your high-wire act. That's a horrible way to frame a partnership. Is it? When I told you about the Austin position, you didn't ask a single question about the opportunity. You didn't consider whether it might be good for my career. Your immediate response was that your business is here. Therefore, the conversation is over. You literally said if I took that job, I'd be taking it alone. Vanessa's chin lifted. Because it would be insane to throw away everything I've built for one job offer. But perfectly reasonable for me to throw away a CTO position so you can keep building your empire. It's not the same thing. Why not? Because... Vanessa struggled, her face flushing. Because I'm building something that's mine. You work for someone else. Ah. Marcus nodded slowly. There it is. Your business matters because it has your name on it. My career doesn't matter because I'm part of a team. Never mind that I architect systems that process billions of dollars. Never mind that I mentor junior developers and solve problems that keep companies running. None of that matters, because I'm not the brand. You're twisting my words. I'm clarifying your perspective. And you know what? You're entitled to that perspective. You're entitled to build your empire and prioritize your business above everything else. But I'm not required to keep being the stable foundation that enables it while my own ambitions get dismissed as negotiable. Vanessa set down her champagne glass, her hands shaking slightly. What are you saying? I'm saying I took the Austin job. The silence that followed was deafening. Vanessa stared at him, her mouth opening and closing. Finally, she found her voice. You what? I took the CTO position at Finance Flow. I start in 6 weeks. But you said... You agreed that moving wasn't an option. No, you told me moving wasn't an option. I said I heard you, and I did hear you, loud and clear. Your career is non-negotiable, and mine is optional. So I made it non-negotiable. By accepting a job in Texas without even discussing it with me? I tried to discuss it with you. Your response was an ultimatum, so I called your bluff. Vanessa's expression shifted from shock to fury. This is unbelievable. On the night of my biggest victory, you decide to blow up our marriage? I'm not blowing up our marriage. I'm taking a job that advances my career, the same thing you've been doing for 4 years. In Chicago, I've been building my career here, where we live, where our life is. And now I'm building my career in Austin. You're welcome to come with me. Come with you? After you made this decision without me? After you accepted a position behind my back? Marcus met her eyes. Did you consult with me before accepting every speaking engagement that took you out of town? Before scheduling client dinners 3 times a week? Before planning that expansion to New York you just mentioned? Or did you assume I'd adjust because that's what I always do? That's different. Those were incremental decisions about my existing business. And this is a single decision about my career. Vanessa, I have supported you for 4 years. I've celebrated every success. I've never asked you to choose between me and your ambitions. But you've made it clear that you're not willing to extend me the same courtesy. So I'm extending it to myself. Vanessa sank onto the couch, her celebration forgotten. I can't believe you're doing this. What did you think would happen? That I'd just keep being the stable husband while you built your empire? That I'd never want something for myself? I thought you loved me. The words were quiet, almost childlike. Marcus felt something crack in his chest. I did love you. I do love you. But love isn't enough when it's only going in one direction. When I'm expected to sacrifice everything while you sacrifice nothing. I've sacrificed plenty, Vanessa shot back, her voice hardening. I've included you in my success. I've tried to inspire you to want more for yourself. Inspire me? You've spent 2 years telling me I'm not ambitious enough, not entrepreneurial enough, not enough, period. That's not inspiration. That's criticism. And I'm done trying to be the version of myself you've decided is acceptable. Vanessa stood, her body rigid. So that's it? You're just leaving? I'm taking a job. You're the one who said if I took it, I'd be taking it alone. I'm giving you 6 weeks to decide if you meant that. 6 weeks to uproot my entire business? 6 weeks to decide what matters more. Your business in Chicago or our marriage? That's not fair. It's exactly fair. It's the same choice you gave me. The difference is that I'm not pretending there's only one acceptable answer. Marcus walked to their bedroom, pulling out the suitcase he'd already half-packed in the back of the closet. He'd been preparing for this moment for weeks. He'd found a sublet apartment in Lakeview through a colleague. He'd boxed up his personal items and stored them in a storage unit. He'd been ready for this conversation to end exactly the way it was ending. What are you doing? Vanessa appeared in the doorway. I'm staying with a friend for a few days. We both need space to think. You're leaving, tonight. I'm giving us both time to process. This is insane, Marcus. You're throwing away 4 years of marriage over a job offer. Marcus paused in his packing, turned to face her fully. I'm not throwing away our marriage. I'm refusing to throw away my career. If you can't see the difference, that tells me everything I need to know. So, what am I supposed to do? Whatever you want. That's always been your position, hasn't it? That you should be able to do whatever you want with your career, and I should support it. I'm just applying that same logic to myself. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. I thought we were building a life together. So did I. But somewhere along the way, it became your life. And I was just a supporting character. I don't want to be a supporting character anymore. Marcus finished packing, zipped his suitcase, and stood facing his wife. For just a moment, he saw past her anger to the fear beneath it. She genuinely hadn't seen this coming. She'd been so certain of her importance, her centrality, that the possibility of him choosing differently had never seriously occurred to her. I'll be in touch about logistics, he said quietly. We can figure out the condo and finances through lawyers if we need to. But Vanessa, I need you to really think about what you want. Not what you think you deserve, not what your business requires, but what you actually want from a marriage. Because if it's a partner who subordinates everything to your ambitions, that's not me. It never was. He walked out of their bedroom, through the living room where the champagne bottle still sat open and celebrating, and out the door of the condo they'd bought together with such hope. As the elevator descended, Marcus felt the weight of 4 years lifting from his shoulders. He didn't know what would happen next. He didn't know if Vanessa would choose to come to Austin, to fight for their marriage, or to let him go in favor of her empire. But for the first time in 2 years, Marcus had chosen himself. And that clarity, however painful, felt like breathing after being underwater for too long. The week following the revelation was quiet in a way that felt ominous. Marcus stayed with his colleague David, sleeping on a pull-out couch in a Lakeview apartment that smelled like coffee and old books. Vanessa sent exactly 3 text messages. Day 1. We need to talk about this like adults. Day 3. You're making a huge mistake. Day 5. Fine. Do whatever you want. You always do. Marcus didn't respond to any of them. What was there to say? He'd said everything that mattered. Now it was time to let Vanessa sit with the consequences of her own ultimatum. He threw himself into transition planning at TechCore. His manager was disappointed but understanding when Marcus gave his notice. Austin's gaining ground as a tech hub, she said. CTO at a well-funded startup is a smart move. We'll miss your expertise, but I can't pretend this isn't a great opportunity. The contrast with Vanessa's response couldn't have been sharper. His professional colleagues saw the Austin position as a logical career progression. His wife saw it as a personal betrayal. 2 weeks after the revelation, Vanessa called. Marcus was in his temporary apartment, reviewing documentation for the finance flow transition, when her name appeared on his screen. "Hello," he answered. "We should meet, to discuss logistics." Her voice was clipped, professional, the tone she used with difficult clients. "Okay, when and where?" "Tomorrow, 1 o'clock. There's a coffee shop on Clark Street near the park. Intelligentsia." "I'll be there." She hung up without saying goodbye. Marcus arrived at the coffee shop 10 minutes early. He ordered an Americano and sat at a corner table where he could see the door. Vanessa arrived exactly on time, wearing a black dress that screamed success and sunglasses despite the overcast day. She ordered something complicated, then sat across from him without removing the sunglasses. "So," she said, "your big power play." It wasn't a power play. It was a career decision. A career decision you hid from me. A career decision I tried to discuss with you. You shut it down with an ultimatum. I called your bluff. Vanessa finally removed her sunglasses. Her eyes were red-rimmed, exhausted. Despite everything, Marcus felt a pang of sympathy. "What do you want from this meeting?" he asked. "I want to understand what you expect me to do. You've accepted a job in Texas. You've moved out of our home. Are you asking for a divorce?" "I'm asking you to decide what you want." "I want my husband to not abandon our marriage for a job. And I want my wife to see me as more than a support system for her ambitions. We can't both get what we want unless one of us changes their position. So you expect me to give up everything I've built?" Marcus sipped his coffee, choosing his words carefully. "I expect you to consider whether being married to me is worth relocating. The same consideration I would have given you if the situation were reversed. The situation would never be reversed because I would never accept a position that required you to uproot your life." "Really? What about your New York expansion plan?" Vanessa blinked. "That's years away." "Is it? That's years. You were talking about opening a second office within the year. Were you planning to commute to New York monthly? Were you going to ask me how I felt about you being gone 3 or 4 days a week? Or were you just going to announce it as a fait accompli and assume I'd adjust? That's not the same thing." "It's exactly the same thing. You would have pursued it because it was good for your business, and you would have expected me to support it. I'm doing the same thing. I'm pursuing an opportunity that's good for my career, and I'm hoping you'll support it." "By moving to Texas?" "Yes." Vanessa was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was smaller. "Do you know what Jennifer said when I told her? I'm sure she had opinions. She said this is what happens when you marry someone without ambition, that eventually they resent you for succeeding. Marcus felt anger flash through him. I have plenty of ambition. I've just been directing it toward building excellent systems rather than building a personal brand. Jennifer thinks you're punishing me for being successful. Jennifer thinks everything is about power and dominance. That's why she's been divorced twice. Marcus leaned forward. Vanessa, I'm not your enemy. I'm not trying to punish you. I'm trying to build a career that fulfills me. If you genuinely can't see the difference between that and some kind of revenge plot, then maybe Jennifer's perspective has poisoned yours. Don't talk about my friend like that. Your friend has spent 4 years encouraging you to see our marriage as a zero-sum competition. Every dinner I've sat through, every conversation about poverty mindset and dead weight, it's been Jennifer's philosophy coming out of your mouth. Vanessa's face flushed. She's helped me build a successful business. At what cost? Look at where we are. Sitting in a coffee shop, negotiating the end of our marriage because you've been convinced that my success somehow diminishes yours. That's not what I think. Isn't it? When I told you about Austin, your immediate response wasn't, "Tell me more about this opportunity," or "How can we make this work for both of us?" It was, "My business is here. Therefore, no." You didn't even pretend to consider it. Vanessa looked down at her untouched coffee. I have spent 4 years building Chen Consulting. My clients are here. My reputation is here. My network is here. I can't just walk away from that. I'm not asking you to walk away from it. I'm asking you to consider whether it's possible to maintain your business while supporting my career the way I've supported yours. How? Tell me how I'm supposed to run a Chicago-based consulting firm from Austin, Texas. The same way you'd run a New York expansion, remotely. You have employees, you have video conferencing. Half your clients prefer virtual meetings anyway. It's not the same. The networking, the in-person meetings, the visibility, all of that requires being here. Then be here. Fly back once or twice a month. Keep an apartment in Chicago. I'm not demanding you burn down your business. I'm asking you to consider a commute. Vanessa's laugh was bitter. You want me to commute 1,400 miles? You wanted me to turn down a CTO position. We're both asking for sacrifices. The question is whether our marriage is worth making them. The silence stretched. Around them, the coffee shop buzzed with afternoon activity, students studying, freelancers working, couples having easier conversations. Finally, Vanessa spoke. I need time to think. Take all the time you need. I start in Austin in 4 weeks. And if I decide I can't do this? Marcus met her eyes. Then we'll figure out what comes next. But Vanessa, I need you to understand something. I'm going to Austin. This job, this opportunity, it's happening. The only question is whether you're part of my life when I get there. Vanessa stood, grabbing her purse. I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe you're surprised that I would. She left without drinking her coffee. Marcus sat there for another 30 minutes, watching the traffic on Clark Street, feeling the weight of 4 years and the lightness of finally standing up for himself. The Austin sun beat down on Marcus as he stood on the balcony of his apartment in East Austin, coffee in hand, watching the city wake up. 6 months had passed since the revelation, since the coffee shop meeting, since everything changed. Finance flow had been everything Sean promised and more. The technology was challenging, the team was brilliant, and Marcus had the authority to make decisions that shaped the entire product. They'd launched their beta 3 weeks ago, processing their first $1 million in remittances with transaction fees 75% lower than traditional services. The user feedback was overwhelmingly positive. Amanda was already in talks with investors about a Series B round that would value the company at over $200 million. Marcus's equity stake, once theoretical, was beginning to look very real. His apartment was in a converted warehouse with exposed brick and 12-foot ceilings. He'd furnished it slowly, deliberately, choosing pieces that reflected his taste rather than anyone else's. There was a standing desk by the window where he coded in the mornings, a bookshelf full of technical manuals and sci-fi novels, a record player that had been boxed up in storage for years, now spinning vinyl on weekend mornings. He'd joined a climbing gym and discovered a passion for bouldering. He'd made friends with his neighbors, a couple who ran a taco truck and invited him to backyard barbecues. He'd started dating again. Nothing serious yet, but the possibility of connection without constant performance evaluation felt revolutionary. Vanessa had made her choice. She'd texted him 2 weeks after their coffee shop meeting. "I can't do this. I can't leave Chicago. I'm sorry." They'd handled the divorce through lawyers, efficiently and without drama. The condo sold quickly in Chicago's hot market. They split the proceeds evenly. Marcus's retirement accounts, his separate property from before the marriage, remained his. Vanessa kept her business and all associated assets. She'd tried once to paint herself as the victim. An Instagram post about choosing yourself when others choose their ambitions had gained traction in her follower base. But Marcus had stayed silent. He didn't need to defend himself to strangers. The people who mattered knew the truth. His phone buzzed. A text from Sean. "Board meeting went well. They're approving the new hires. Your team is about to double. Congrats, CTO." Marcus smiled. 6 months ago, he'd been a senior architect at someone else's company, brilliant in the shadows. Now he was CTO of a startup that was changing an industry, with his name on the architecture and his decisions shaping the future. Another text, this one from an unknown number. "Hi, Marcus. This is Jennifer Holloway. I wanted to reach out because I owe you an apology." Marcus stared at the message, genuinely shocked. He typed back, "What for?" The response came quickly. "For encouraging Vanessa to see you as less than you were. I realize now that my own issues with my ex-husbands colored my advice to her. You weren't the problem in your marriage. The problem was that she stopped seeing you as a partner. I'm sorry I helped blind her to that." Marcus read the message twice, then, "Thank you for saying that. How's Vanessa?" "Struggling, honestly. Her business is fine, but I think she's realizing what she lost. Not that you owe her anything. You deserved better than how she treated you. I hope Austin is everything you wanted it to be." "It is. Take care, Jennifer." He set down his phone and looked out at Austin stretching before him. The morning light caught the downtown skyline, all glass and ambition. Somewhere in Chicago, Vanessa was probably starting her day, managing clients, building her empire. He hoped she found what she was looking for. But he'd found what he was looking for. Ownership, vision, legacy. All the things Vanessa had told him he lacked the courage to pursue. Marcus had learned something important over the past 6 months. Strength wasn't about never bending to anyone else's needs. It was about knowing when bending would break you and choosing to stand instead. Love wasn't about endless sacrifice. It was about mutual support, equal consideration, shared dreams. When it became one-sided, when it demanded everything and gave back only criticism, it stopped being love and became something else entirely. And ambition wasn't about having your name on a building or commanding the spotlight. It was about building something excellent, something meaningful, something that mattered, whether or not anyone else recognized it as yours. True partnership isn't about one person's dreams being mandatory while the others are negotiable. It's about two people building something together that neither could create alone, each sacrifice balanced by equal consideration, each success celebrated as shared victory. When someone shows you through their actions that you're a supporting character in their story rather than a co-author of a shared narrative, believe them. You deserve better than being someone's stable foundation while they build a tower you're not allowed to climb. What would you have done in Marcus's position? Would you have stayed in Chicago, sacrificing your career for your partner's empire? Or would you have chosen yourself? If this story resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, knowing your worth isn't selfish. It's survival. Your move, world,